To my Java application security presentation. I have the subject of handling all errors and exceptions in your Java code. So, to begin with, error handling is important from an intrusion detection perspective. Certain attacks against your application may trigger errors, which can help detect attacks in progress. This is a direct quote taken from OWASP. The premise here is that if an attacker is trying to gain access to your application, uh, any errors that we catch and trigger and that we can find in an error log will help us to see our vulnerabilities and be able to patch them later on. It also will make it more difficult for an attacker to gain access in the first place. There are a couple types of security vulnerabilities that we need to be aware of in terms of error handling mistakes. The first is an information leakage from an error stack trace. Now, all of this again is taken from that same OWASP article. Links are provided here in the presentation. The information leakage from an error stack trace is probably the primary problem overall, which happens when an attacker gains more relevant details about the backend implementation of code than they need as an end user. This could be something as ubiquitous as revealing the name of a table or using a column name from a database inside of an error message. Could also just be showing the type of error being whether you've entered an invalid password or an invalid username. Whatever's happening, it's showing more behind the scenes than is necessary, and it is revealing critical details about the way your program works, and that is where uh, the problem lies. These clues to attackers are what are going to be used to find the exploits and then access them. The other type here is the TLS bypass through an error. Now, this is a specific uh, instance that they're referencing an Apple go-to fail bug, um, which is a control flow error. Now, the premise here is broader than just this specific attack. Uh, Anytime you don't catch your errors in your code, you are perhaps creating unintended implications where code could execute improperly and entire pieces could be left out. In this case, it was a critical security layer which encrypted data being transferred. So an entire layer of security was lost because of improper error handling. The implications might be greater or less than that, but it is worth keeping in mind. Then finally, there's a denial of service attack through error exploit. And this is a situation where an attacker is able to overload your system's resources simply because you didn't put up enough of a fight. So we need to be able to put up that fight through um, to using error handling. So proactive steps we can take. We need to test to ensure all errors in our program are handled. We need to ensure that error messages are properly worded. This is such that we should not reveal more than necessary in an error message. We want to keep the obfuscation high and the user seeing only the bare minimum they need to see to be able to understand an error happened. But on the flip side of that, we also need to ensure that error messages are useful to necessary parties. We need to make sure they're logged in a way that gives enough information for support, quality assurance, forensics, or incident response teams to understand the problem. This is a very fine balance because we need to make sure we're not revealing too much, but we are revealing enough that the necessary parties can do their jobs. All of that, again, is taken from OWASP's article. Link is provided. Finally, there is a piece of code I want to run through quickly that explains the premise, especially on that the first problem we spoke of with the information leakage. This is a piece of code that is using a SQL query to access a database for a bank account. It provides a username and account number to query the database. However, when the SQL exception is raised, the stack trace reveals too much information. It actually reveals the table name and column names used in the database. The link provided down there notes that can be used for simplifying other attacks such as SQL injection to gain access to the database. This is a premise where we need to be careful not to reveal too much in our error messages, but also that if we do not catch errors properly, too much information is revealed to the user. Anytime we don't handle it and take control over the error presentation, then more information is going to be revealed than is reasonable. And if our wording is sloppy, then it can be too much even then. So this is just an example piece of code where we can see that a great deal of information was given away to potential attackers when that could have been handled rather easily through proper error handling. So this is the premise of handling your errors in your Java code to bolster security in your application. Thank you very much.